If I could pick one thing to avoid, it would definitely be spicy food. No, not like that, not like that. I'm talking about that time where you eat spicy food and it's not really spicy. So you eat a little bit more and then a little bit more. And the next thing you know, sandpaper starts to sound really soothing for your tongue. What's going on with you guys? TheCaliEffect, king of games here. And today we're gonna be making a video that I know you will need. As the late and great CaliEffect would say, sometimes the best action is to take no action. Wait, I'm not dead. But one thing that should be dead is these prices, because I'm gonna be giving you cards that you should avoid buying. That's right, these cards in this video are way too overpriced and way too overhyped. And I'm gonna be not only revealing to you what these cards are, but why you should completely avoid them. I mean, avoid these cards like how Wesley Snipes avoids taxes. Avoid these cards like how Lisa avoids Millhouse. Avoid these cards like how you should not avoid destroying that subscribe button and posting down below in the comment section what are some other cards you should avoid. If you didn't catch on, that's a double a negative. You should do the subscribe button thing and comment. So without further ado, let's jump on in. The first card I want to talk to you guys about is nowhere near perfect. It actually should herald a new spotlight when it comes to being bought. Yeah, that's right. Herald of Perfection is a card that made its debut quite some time ago. It is a ritual monster whose effect reads: if your opponent activates a spell, trap, or monster effect, you can discard one fairy monster to negate the activation and destroy it. Now, Herald was bought out because of Drytron hype. Players thought that you could play Herald of Perfection inside of your Drytron deck, and that basically gave you free access to an infinite amount of negations. The only problem with that is that there are way better targets. Herald of Perfection is completely outclassed by its successor in Herald of Ultimateness. Not only does Ultimateness does the exact same things as Herald of Perfection, it allows you to negate summons as well. Like, I mean, there's no reason. The only counter argument to playing Herald of Perfection over Herald of Ultimateness was that Dawn of Herald could recur a card like Cyber Angel Benton back to your hand, and it was easier to summon Herald of Perfection than it is to summon Herald of Ultimateness, because Perfection is a 6-star monster while Ultimateness is a 12. Until you realize that Drytrons don't ritual summon based off of level. Now, the interesting thing about Herald of Perfection is though, even though it isn't played in any competitive deck, the lowest listing for this card for a gold rare is $10. I personally feel that you should avoid every single copy of Herald of Perfection unless you're a collector looking for a Ghost Gold rare or an Ultimate rare, because the other ones are just useless. The next card on this list just so happens to be a victim of new support and being a really old card. Scrapyard made his debut in the Duelist Revolution set, and its effect reads: add one scrap tuner monster from your deck to your hand. Really simple, right? Now, the reason why this card shot up in price is because of the new card from the Lightning Overdrive set, Raptor. I'm just gonna call it Scraptor. Scraptor not only happens to be scrap support, it just so happens to be a dinosaur monster, meaning that it's also dino support, and there are tons of combos between both of the decks. Seeing that Scrapyard is a reinforcement of the army for the strategy, as well as having only one print from a set that's quite old, Scrapyard currently sits at about $15 a copy, which is outrageous for a card that we're not getting at least for 5 months. It's gonna be a while. Now, the reason why this card is a card you should completely avoid is because we don't know exactly what reprints we will get into Lightning Overdrive. Possibly the next upcoming OTS set will have Scrapyard as a reprint, either in a super or common form, or somewhere down the line in a side set will receive a Scrapyard reprint. There also could be hits to Dino, which would make this card completely irrelevant, so you definitely should hold off on purchasing a card where its support that makes it so expensive doesn't come out for the foreseeable future. Now, Mystic Fighters just so happen to be one of the most disappointing sets, with all 3 strategies not necessarily taking the top tables. Normally we have one strategy, at least one, that does really well, while the other 2, I mean, it's in the air. But Mystic Fighters from a competitive standpoint was completely terrible. Unfortunately for us, that doesn't stop cards from skyrocketing in price into unbelievable costs that we probably should invest in. DRAGONMAID Hospitality is definitely one of those cards. DRAGONMAID Hospitality reads: special summon one Dragonmaid monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position. Then you can send one Dragonmaid monster with the same attribute but different level from your deck to your graveyard. You can only activate one Dragonmaid Hospitality once per turn. Now, Dragonmaid Hospitality actually seems like an amazing Yu-Gi-Oh card. Not only is it a monster reborn or an ancient rules for a Dragonmaid monster, it also allows you to be a foolish burial at the same time. This is almost a no-brainer great card, especially when you consider that the Mystic Fighter set had no competitive strategies, and on top of that, this card seemed to be short printed. It was really hard to get. The only problem with this particular situation is that Dragonmaids are not really that good. I mean, granted, Dragonmaids have probably had the most success out of the other two archetypes, but they're not good enough to be shelling out $26 for a super rare from the Mystic Fighter set. I mean, don't kill the messenger, guys. I know it's probably your favorite waifu dragon deck, but $26 is a lot to spend on a deck that's... I mean, let's face it, the real waifus right now are live twins. Everyone's liking live twins. You don't like live twins? I mean, I'm not attracted to them either. My particular problem with Dragonmaid Hospitality, again, is not with its effect. It's amazing. It's shelling out $26 for a super rare copy of this card when we already know that Dragonmaid cards have been reprinted before in the past. Odds are by the time that this deck gets more support, it'll probably be reprinted again. That and the fact that there are no strategies right now that demand that you play Dragonmaid Hospitality, you're probably better off just playing a different deck until a reprint comes around. Even before the cards for Legendary Duelist Season 2 were announced, I knew that this card was not worth it. I mean, as a Cyber Dragon connoisseur, we dropped this out of our build because while it is a good card, it's not the card that wins you games, at least not how you think it is. I won't lie though, CYBERLOAD Fusion is a pretty good card. Its effect reads, Fusion summon one fusion monster that lists Cyber Dragon as material from the extra deck by shuffling fusion materials possessed listed in your deck that you control or are banished, but your other monsters cannot attack for the rest of the turn. You can only use the effect of CYBERLOAD Fusion once per turn. The fact that this card is a quick play, meaning that you can attack with your Cyber Dragon monsters first, and then follow up with CYBERLOAD Fusion to summon your huge Cyber Dragon behemoth to finish off your opponent, is amazing. But there's actually a few problems with CYBERLOAD Fusion. The first thing is that a lot of times when you can get CYBERLOAD Fusion to your hand to activate, it's overkill. You don't need CYBERLOAD Fusion to win a lot of your games. And while shuffling in cards from your banished pile is really nice, typically when you activate CYBERLOAD Fusion, you want to be attacking for game anyway, so it kind of defeats the purpose. On top of that, CYBERLOAD Fusion is $18 a copy right now. That's a little too expensive for a card that's getting reprinted next week. CYBERLOAD Fusion is a card that you should completely avoid for those two reasons. For the people that did not know, CYBERLOAD Fusion is getting a reprint inside of the Legendary Duelist Season 2, as well as the other mentioned reasons above. That might be a reason for you to maybe reconsider purchasing this card. And the last card that is a card that you probably should have never invested in the first place is a card that has no competitive implications, though I will admit it is a pretty interesting card. NECROFACE made his debut in the Gladiators Assault set, so this card is pretty old. I mean, it's Yu-Gi Boomer old, and you guys know how we feel about Yu-Gi Boomer old. Back in my day, Sonny, NECROFACE was on a whole nother card. It was... yes, I remember now. Hold on. The good old brain gotta get back. Dark Necrofear. Yeah, that was the god. That was the god. What NECROFACE does is that when it is normal summon, you can shuffle all cards that are banished, and then NECROFACE gains 100 attack for each card shuffled back into the deck. But the more important effect is that when this card is banished, both players must banish the top 5 cards from their deck. That can be good in certain decks, but I don't think it's really worth it. So there seems to be no real reason why NECROFACE was bought out competitively, but paying $25 for super rares, that's just not gonna cut it, boss. I genuinely think that buying super rare copies of NECROFACE in a format where no decks play it, there's no plausible application other than someone bought it out, is just not smart business moves. If you are so desperate for a NECROFACE, like extremely desperate for a NECROFACE, rare copies are about $3–4 each. I mean, if you ain't got the secret, it's pretty much the same thing. And while NECROFACE has not been reprinted in quite some time, and probably won't be reprinted in the near future, it's also a card that again has not seen competitive relevancy kind of like ever. So there's that. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video on cards you should completely avoid. As always, if there's some cards that you feel that no one should be buying, go ahead and post down below in the comment section. I'm pretty sure that somebody's gonna mention cards that everybody wants, thinking that it'll make cards plummet in price or something. That's not how it works. As always, if you want to see more awesome CaliEffect content, then be sure to check out these videos, as I'll catch you on the next one.